I mean, I think the world has been changed irrevocably.
Yeah, you're holding your breath, aren't you? And you're talking about the Labour Party fringe meeting there. We just thank God that Corbyn didn't win in 2019. Because it wouldn't be a fringe meeting. We'd have a Prime Minister who backed Hamas, and we would be a pariah state by now.
Indeed.
It's just this blind spot the left have, and it's sheer anti-Semitism about Israel.
Yeah, it's Jew hate.
They don't do it for. They wouldn't do it for North Korea or any actual dictatorships. It's just Israel that they pick on.
Well, that's the thing about Jeremy Corbyn. We'll play you a little bit of footage of him in just a little while, refusing to condemn what Hamas did.
I watched the BBC coverage just aghast at the weekend that they couldn't bring themselves
to call them what they are.
To call them terrorists. I don't like using equivalency, but if you could imagine a far right group invading the Glastonbury Festival, killing 200 people. Defiling corpses, abducting babies. Do you think the word they would use to describe them on the BBC is militant?
Yeah, that's what they called them. Militants.
It's grotesque.
They're not militants, they're thuggish terrorists.
You've got to ask yourself why the BBC does that as well, because it's either it's afraid of the Islamic lobby or it actually has some sympathy with what's going on. Either position just makes them untenable as a state broadcaster.
There you go, there's a call for you if you want to ring in. Does the BBC hate the West? Does the BBC hate Britain? Does it hate America? Does it prefer Hamas terrorists? 0344 499 1000, because so far that's the way they're behaving. Talking of people who love Hamas, BBC might not, I should stress, I suppose, although they're acting like it. But here's someone who I think it's safe to say does love Hamas and all their anti-Israeli mates. That is Jeremy Corbyn. Here he is, refusing to condemn what Hamas did. Take it away, Mr. Corbyn.
Yesterday I sent out a statement calling for a ceasefire, calling for peace, and calling for an end to the occupation of Palestine, which of course is fundamentally the background to the whole issue. Obviously, all attacks are wrong.
But do you
Thank you. I think I've made
Hamas?
my point. I think I've made my point very clearly.
Quite made the point.
Wait a minute.
What the man is saying is exactly...
Let me tell you, all attacks are not wrong, and I'll tell you an attack that isn't wrong. That is Israel's retaliation against this abomination that Hamas has visited upon the innocent people of Israel. That is a justified attack. And why won't that guy condemn Hamas? That is an absolute outrage.
It's this mealy-mouthed thing you get from the left. Is when Hamas does something like, well, we can't look at it unless we look at it in context and condemn all violence. If it was Israel that had started it, you would hear a completely different set of arguments, and they would condemn it utterly, and there would be no context to anything. He's a vile old hypocrite, that guy.
He really is, and of course, terrible politician. Never changed his mind about anything in 50 years, and he's always been obsessed with Palestine. You know, his own, when he was a wannabe prime minister, when incredibly and uselessly he was leading the Labour Party to disaster, he carried on with his view of his one foreign policy. His one foreign policy was, we hate Israel, we love Palestine. That's the only foreign policy he had. It's the only foreign policy he's ever thought about in his entire life. He hates Israel, and frankly, I believe he hates the people in it, but he says he's not.
He's an anti-Semite.
He says he's not an anti-Semite.
Well, there's been a huge inquiry by the Equalities Commission, and it came to exactly that conclusion.
Yes, I think he does stand accused of not liking Jews. And, you know, let's examine what Hamas did. They flew in, they raided Israel, they came in on the 50th anniversary of the Yom Kippur War back in 1973. As I said earlier, they knocked on people's doors, and when those innocent people opened the doors, they shot them straight dead. They shot kids, they shot grandparents, they shot parents. Then they went to this music festival in the south near the border where they shot dead 200 kids enjoying a pop concert. Then you saw the kids running away as the bullets flew across them. They kidnapped them. They've taken them over into Palestine as, they say, bargaining chips to get prisoners out of Israel. Human shields, that's what they are. They're using them as human shields. Netanyahu, I can warn Hamas right now, he won't be too bothered by nuances like this. He is going to rain all hell on Palestine now.
There's only ever one outcome when Palestine tries to start a war against Israel, and it ends up in their very heavy defeat. And you have to hope that that's exactly what happens this time.
Yeah. Oh, well, let's go back to the BBC. We saw Jeremy Corbyn there refusing to condemn Hamas, and the BBC, as you alluded to earlier, Ali, is refusing to call them terrorists. Well, what the hell are they? Militants? Well, all right, call them militants if you want, but they're militant terrorists. Two-bit murderous thugs. That's what they are.
Yeah, it was the whole coverage as well, which was... I saw early on Saturday, The Guardian tried to spin it as... what will be remembered here is a terrible failure of Israeli security, and it's not. What will be remembered here is the depravity of the Palestinians.
You're so right. And there was,
and then the BBC, of course, took up this theme.
Yeah.
It's terrible security failure by Israel. Yeah. It's a failure of humanity, is what it is.
Absolutely, and of course, by that little reverse ferret, a failure in Israeli intelligence. We can make Israel the villains of this story. They should have had better intelligence. It is a story that they didn't.
It's an element to it, but it is not the story.
Yeah. What do you think did go wrong there, though, to talk about that? Because it is a valid topic. I mean, Mossad and Israel are well known to have arguably the greatest intelligence of any network on the face of the earth, and yet they didn't know anything about this. What's gone wrong there?
Well, I'm sure that will come out in due course, but the theory is why Hamas has launched this is because Israel and Saudi Arabia are on the verge of signing a peace deal, as Israel has with a lot of the surrounding territories there.
Yeah.
And it's done to destabilise this. The Palestinian Authority has turned down every peace deal Israel has offered it since Hamas came to power in 2007.
Yeah.
It offered them access to East Jerusalem, the old city, complete control of Gaza, and just rejected it.
Absolutely. And what am I? I'm a puppeteer. Puppet on a string. Hamas, puppet on string. Puppeteer, Iran. Iran told them to do this, didn't they?
Yeah. It's the old split in Iran, Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, it's
two different strands of Islam.
Yeah. Hamas is just doing what they told. This is what they were told. This is Iran doing this. And you're right. I mean, Hamas don't like the idea of a deal between Israel and Saudi Arabia. Iran likes the idea even less. And that's what this is all about. And God knows where we're heading with this. These are some of the most terrifying, disturbing images that we've seen for many a long year. And that goes right back to the Gulf War. That's when we started to see stuff like this. But the fact that it's happening now is absolutely deeply concerning, to say the least.